Could it be? But me, your man, Louie T. Well, to division round weekend here on the Louie T Network, your continued coverage of the National Football League postseason, Bucs, Saints, NFC South family business. You know how the family do it. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, this is NFC South family business in the Bucs. I told you it's tough to beat a team 3 times in one season. Did I expect the outcome to be what it was tonight? No, I'd be lying to you if I said I did. However, when you turn it over 3 times, your quarterback is unable to push the football down the field any more than 15 yards at a time. This is what's going to happen to your football team and the outcome of the game. And I'll add another thing in there. Once you start talking about retirement, once you float that out there, and everyone knows you've got one foot out the door, you might as well just go ahead and hang it up. And so we've seen this play out so many times. It's very rare that a guy says, this is it for me. You know, you can do that in the NBA and you can take your little victory lap and, you know, you're probably getting your brains bashed in that year. It's sort of like Kobe with the Lakers and Tim Duncan with the Spurs. You know, your team's not very good. You know it's over. You take your victory lap. You get all the gifts, all the pageantry of everyone showering you with praise and videos, tributes and whatnot. Can't do that in the NFL. This isn't the NBA. All right, you get your block knocked off if you're thinking about retirement. And before the game, it was pretty much released that this is it. This is his last game in the Dome, no matter what happens, because the Packers had already won. He wasn't coming back to the Superdome. And so once that seed is planted, I remember when Tiki Barber talked about retirement and things of that nature, his play went down. Like, you can't talk about retirement while you're still playing in that season. That said, you got to give credit to this Buccaneers defense. They saw a wounded, they saw blood in the water. They saw a wounded animal in Drew Brees there, and they went after him. And not necessarily from a sack perspective, but they just did a really good job of hugging up. Everything underneath, they just collapsed on it. And they said, look, we don't think you can beat us deep. And they were right. They knew it. You know, I thought Troy Aikman made a great point in pointing out how every time the Saints wanted to push it down the field, they brought in another guy. And I didn't know Taysom Hill, his injury that he sustained last year was as serious as it ended up being. I didn't find that out until like Friday when I realized he only practiced on that Friday and that he was listed as questionable. But in you know, the New Orleans Saints circles, it was more like doubtful. And he didn't play. And, you know, we talk about Sean Payton's, you know, fascination and how he loves to utilize Taysom Hill almost to, you know, an extent where it's at a disadvantage to Drew Brees. He's getting into a rhythm, and here comes Taysom Hill. But this is why you need a Taysom Hill. For games like this, Drew Brees simply wasn't good. But then again, neither were. Look, I just need to say this before we start talking about the Buccaneers, because this is a big win for them. They're back in the NFC Championship after not having been in the playoffs for what seemed like an eternity. They're back in the NFC Championship game, but that's what Tom Brady brings to the table. Can I just say that both of these quarterbacks looked their age tonight? They looked their age. They played their age. We saw some pretty bad quarterbacking at times from both of these quarterbacks in this game. The numbers are as spot on for the production that we got out of these quarterbacks. I thought that there were some poor play calls by Bruce Arians early in the game. You got a 3rd and 3 and you're going to chuck it 40 yards down the field to Rob Gronkowski. That's a dumb play call. It's 3rd and 1 and you're going to take a deep shot to Mike Evans down the sideline. That's a stupid play call. Like, a lot of things that I didn't understand, and I still don't understand. They got away with it. Brady wasn't sharp. That catch by the rookie out of Minnesota, hell of a catch. That is a terrible throw by Tom Brady. The catch by Scotty Miller, that is a terrible throw by Tom Brady. You throw that outside up the sideline, it's a touchdown. That safety can't get over there. Instead, he had to catch it and duck for his life so he didn't get his block knocked off. So, and don't get me started on Drew Brees, okay? It was a rough night for these oldie but goodies. I told you, we got to get these old farts the hell out of here. And they're infiltrating our playoffs, and they're contaminating with this type of play. That said, that's a really good Saints defense. They know that the Buccaneers and the offense and what they're trying to do, and so they did a really good job of taking it away. They deserved a better fate. But the star of the show today is the Buccaneers defense, and that's where we're going to start with this breakdown, is that they came into this game knowing Drew Brees can't throw it more than 15 yards down the field. He hadn't shown it since he's been back from the injury, and Brees even admitted himself, and again, too much information, TMI. Shut your damn mouth. You know, he admitted, I came back too soon. Okay, cool. You don't need to let everybody else know that, though. So, in the film, it tells the story. You know, the film doesn't lie. He hasn't pushed the football down the field since he's been back, whether it was the Chiefs game or the Panthers game or the Bears game last week. He hasn't thrown the football down the field. So, he wasn't going to hide. The Buccaneers weren't going to be afraid. They were jumping everything. And I watched this Buccaneers secondary. It's trash. I had already explained that to you guys last week. All right. Now, having Devin White back makes a huge difference, but he can't clean up the mess that's in the secondary. And so there were opportunities, and there will be next week. If they play the way they played today, next week, trust me, there will be 30-some-odd points put on them. But for this particular game, with the lack of ability to stretch the field vertically, they were able to be aggressive. And that's what this young secondary is. They're very aggressive. And if you give them opportunities, they will hurt you. But that same aggression can be used against them. We saw it last week against Washington. You can get guys. I mean, the trick play is all you need to know. How does a guy get 10 yards of separation in every direction from every defender? Because you're undisciplined. It's an undisciplined Buccaneers secondary. But when you don't have to play man-to-man or zone coverage, and you don't have to understand responsibilities, when you can just essentially say, hey, let's just go man across the board, because nobody's going deep. He can't throw it deep. So let's just go man across the board. Let's play everything short. We'll play short to intermediate, but we don't have to worry about anything getting over our heads because they're not capable. That's when you can be aggressive. That's when you can try to jump routes, make some plays, and they were able to do that in this game. And honestly, Brees had time. I don't know if he was even sacked in this game. He might have been sacked once, if that. It wasn't a lot of pressure for the most part. But you also got to give them credit for not allowing the run game. And I talked about some of these injuries for the Saints. Taysom Hill injury was huge, but also Latavius Murray being out was also massive. He's a big part of what they do in the run game. And Ty Montgomery is cool. He's not real. Okay, he's not a real running back. So, I mean, you got to give the Bucs credit, though. That's what they do. They stop the run. They weren't tremendous in that department either, but they were good enough that they forced Drew Brees to have to beat them in this game, and he wasn't capable of doing that. And when he tried to, they made him pay. And Jared Cook forced fumble there by Antoine Winfield Jr. To me, that was the play of the game, because at that moment, the game was slipping away. You're down 7. The Saints are starting to rev it up offensively. It's 20-13. They're feeling good about themselves. And they were going for more points, in my estimation. That Jared Cook play was a first down. They were approaching midfield. And you get that fumble, you scoop it up, you run it deep into Saints territory. You get 7 and tie the game up off of that. And then you get another turnover. That turns into another touchdown. Or actually, you get a stop. Then you get the field goal. And then you get another turnover. And that turns into a touchdown. And then you get another turnover to put the game away. So that forced fumble by Antoine Winfield Jr., to me, was the game-changing play, because it felt like the game was kind of slipping away from the Bucs at that moment. And with that turnover, everything changed. I thought everything, momentum. Uncle Mo got up from the Saints sideline, walked over to the Bucs sideline, and didn't get back up. And that was really what the Bucs did. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. 4 Saints turnovers turned into 21 Buccaneers points. That's pretty much where they scored all their points. And I'll take it a step further, too. They were awful in the red zone last week against Washington. They were awful in the red zone again this week without the turnovers, without the aid of these turnovers and the benefit that those brought to them. When they go on these long drives, they're not able to cap these things off with touchdowns. They're not beating Green Bay kicking field goals. Because early in this game, it was Ryan Suckup versus Will Lutz. Neither one of these teams could finish off a drive. And so if you go into Green Bay kicking field goals, you're going to lose the game. You kicked a bunch of field goals. You should have put up 40 against Washington in Wild Card Weekend. You settled for a bunch of field goals in that game. That kept Washington within striking distance. You did it again in this game, but luckily the turnovers were raining down and you were able to turn those turnovers into points. You're going to have to finish off some of these drives. And Godwin is going to have to catch the damn football. That was a beautiful throw, one of the few on the day by Brady. Back in the end zone. It's not an easy catch. I understand. It's tough. You're playing for a contract. Every time you drop one of these balls, a little bit less on the contract that you're going to get in the offseason. Catch the damn football, Chris Godwin. We know you're capable, okay? I tried to get Gronk a little bit more involved in this game. They were incapable of doing that. They tried, not for a lack of trying. Last week, he was in blocking a little bit more because of the threat of the pressure from Washington. So this week, they get him out into the route, and he's going to have to be a factor next week against the Packers and that linebacking core. They're going to have to be able to use Gronk and Cameron Brate too, to a lesser degree. Those tight ends are going to be massive next week if they're going to have some success against Green Bay because the corners in Green Bay are so good. They're going to have to be able to utilize those tight ends a lot better. But I thought that they ran it when they needed to run it with Fournette. Jones is still not right. You can see that, but he had a nice contribution tonight. And honestly, if not for some of the penalties defensively for the Saints, for the Bucs, maybe the Saints don't have the kind of output that they had in this game because the penalties were keeping some of their drives alive as well. And then a couple of penalties on the offensive side negated some big plays that you guys had there if you're Tampa Bay. So I thought the penalties were an issue. That's something they'll need to clean up. But, when you do what you did to that Saints offense in terms of turnovers and the offense being opportunistic enough to take those turnovers and turn them into points and not just field goals, but touchdowns. That's how you win games in this league. You know the mantra, you know the motto. Field goals don't win. Touchdowns win games. Field goals do not, okay? You want to win games in this league, don't settle for field goals. Field goals don't win games. Touchdowns do. And when it came down to it, they forced the turnovers, but they didn't settle for field goals with those turnovers. They got in the end zone. But when they're driving it themselves, like that first drive, 12 plays, like 80-something yards, and you got to settle for a field goal. Got to find a way to get those in the end zone next week if you want to advance to back home to Tampa. This will be the second time in, 3 years? Maybe 4 years, I think it was, when Minnesota had a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and they got smoked by the Eagles in the championship game. We'll have another team with an opportunity to be the first to play at home in the Super Bowl. They're going to have to get past Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field with crowd in attendance. That should be a fun one. Really looking forward to that. If you're the Saints, the defense played really well. They deserved a better fate than this. They did everything they needed to do. Honestly, as I've talked about many times, when you give up turnovers, you don't have to give up touchdowns. It's one thing, though, if an interception happens, like the last one, for instance, that Mike Edwards had to put the game away, and they're starting to drive at around midfield. Okay, you got a chance to not only get a stop and force, not let them score any points, you got a chance to force them to punt from that, position on the field. But when these turnovers are happening and they're running it back inside the 5, inside the 20, it's tough to keep a team from scoring a touchdown in those situations. It's really sudden change of possession in that instance. Like literally, you're coming onto the field and you got 17 yards of grass to defend. It's tough. You can do it, but it's tough. And you put in some tough spots with the offense's mistakes in this football game. The forced fumble, they scooped that up. Run it inside the 20, 25-yard line, somewhere in there. They're in business. It's tough to get a stop after that. It's demoralizing. It's deflating. But you played good enough to win. Brady wasn't his best in this game. Some of that credit is given to you guys for up front getting a little bit of pressure. Slowing down the run game early. I thought you struggled with that late, but I think that was a byproduct of just kind of being defeated at that point, knowing that the game was slipping away. But offensively, that's where the problem lied in this game. It really lied with the offense and Drew Brees' inability to be able to push the football down the field. And the Bucs were just squatting on everything. Everything. First of all, let me say this too. Devin White is a monster. They were talking about him being a Pro Bowl snub. To hell with the Pro Bowl. He was an all-pro snub. I love Bobby Wagner just as much as the next man. And Bobby Wagner had another fantastic year. Bobby Wagner didn't have 9 sacks. That's for damn sure. Okay? And I know Bobby was over 100 tackles again for like the 9th straight year or whatever the hell it's been now. This kid, Devin White, this kid here, he's different. Okay? He's the new generation of NFL linebacker. Right? So, forget about the Pro Bowl. He should have been an all-pro this goddamn year. Anyway, I digress. Let me get back to the Saints. It's a shame because Traquan Smith had a hell of a day. His first game back, and he was hobbled. He didn't look right, but he had 2 touchdown grabs. That second one was a hell of a catch, and to get his feet down as well. And so all of that goes for naught with the loss. Alvin Kamara, this was a little bit too much on his plate because not only did he have to take on the full bear and responsibility of being essentially the lone running back. Again, that's why you saw so much Ty Montgomery. But he also had to, catch the football out of the backfield because Drew Brees, being that he can't push it down the field, he's got to be really, really good underneath. And it was tough for him in the underneath game because the Bucs were just sitting on that. And without Brees being able to throw the football down the field, that essentially renders Michael Thomas useless because he does a lot of his work underneath. But the reason he's able to do a lot of his work underneath is the threat of him getting up the seam, or the threat of him running a corner route, or the threat of the Bucs stretching the Saints stretching the football field vertically so he can work underneath. With the threat of that gone, now I'm sitting on everything underneath with Michael Thomas. He's not the fastest guy in the world already, as we all know. So they were able to squat on everything. He was non-existent. Like, this was a really bad year for him. There was this whole dispute with him, with his injury. Is he healthy? Is he not healthy? He comes back. He was a non-factor all season long, even in the games that he played. So this was like a culmination of all of that this season. And I said something last week to the effect of something's off with this Saints offense. I mean, the Bears are good defensively, don't get me wrong. But, that performance last week just left you saying to yourself, there was a lot left to be desired after that game. You're like, 21, that's all you could muster? That's it? Like, you should have beat the brakes off for the Bears, and that's all you could muster was 21? But it was good enough. Nobody batted an eye because you beat the Bears, and you're like, hey, whatever, it's cool. But we saw a lot of the same issues in this game. And Brees wasn't healthy. Let's call a spade a spade. I don't think Jameis Winston would have done anything else better. He would have at least opened up the offense a bit. But he might have turned it. I mean, hell, Brees threw 3 interceptions. Jameis probably would have did the same goddamn thing. Let's be honest with ourselves. But he would have at least kept the Buccaneers defense honest, which is you couldn't say the same for Drew Brees. And so it's a hell of a win for the Buccaneers. They're going to Lambeau. It's supposed to be 20 degrees and snowing. That's the report. Now we'll see. Obviously, you're looking at a forecast that's 7 days away. Things could change drastically between then and now. It's going to be cold as hell. I don't know about the snow. But even yesterday, it was mild in Green Bay, and it was still snowing. And it was little flurries throughout the course of that game. So I'd imagine it's going to be pretty damn cold, and it might snow during the game. And I know a lot of those Tampa players are probably not looking forward to that, but if you want to go to the Super Bowl, you're going to have to man up and find a way to get it done there. We'll have all week to talk about that contest. However, but I'll just say this. If that was the last time we saw Drew Brees, that's unfortunate because that was the direct opposite of everything he stood for throughout the course of his career. He's been a guy that has protected the football, a guy that has been extremely accurate, made smart decisions. But of late, I can tell you this, going back the last couple of years, this has been his thing. This has been the narrative. Drew Brees not being able to win big games at home in the postseason. He didn't win last year against Minnesota. He didn't win the year before against the Rams in the NFC Championship game. That's part of his legacy too. He only won one Super Bowl, and that's why I said Aaron Rodgers has to win the Super Bowl this year, because you don't want to be in that same category with Drew Brees. Manning, he desperately tried his hardest to get out of that category, and he barely got out of there by getting that second Super Bowl. But he was just a passenger. But it's on his resume, got that second Super Bowl. You don't want to be that guy that just gets one. Hey, it's better than none, right? But you don't want to be the guy that just gets one. You're too good. You've been too good for too long in this league to only have one Super Bowl attached to your name. So for Brees, his legacy is going to be he overachieved, one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, one of the most accurate quarterbacks we've ever seen. Really, honestly, outside of this injury here, the finger last year, what was it, his thumb, I think, last year, and the shoulder at the end of his Chargers run, really a durable guy. He didn't miss a ton of games throughout his career. Pretty much you knew he was going to show up each and every single week. Overcame the odds. One of the best short quarterbacks this league has ever seen. And you really don't need to throw that in there. He's one of the best quarterbacks this league has ever seen. But when it came to the big games, he came up small. And that's a part of his legacy. That's a part of the narrative. And I think he's done. I do think this is it. I think this is the last time we've seen Drew Brees on an NFL field. I think that injury really solidified it for him. Like, okay, I'm too old to be dealing with this shit. I'm 42. I can't be out here running around with fractured ribs and punctured lungs and things of that nature. I'm too old for this shit. Brady can keep playing because he doesn't really take a lot of shots. Brady gets down. Like, you're not hitting me. Before I get a sack, get a knee in my rib or something like that, I'm going to just go down. So that's why Brady's able to continue. The only thing we worried about with Brady were the concussions. And, Giselle told us a couple of years back, yeah, he's had concussions. Brady was like, hey, Giselle, shut your damn mouth. They don't need to know all of that. Shut up. But Brady hasn't been taking any of those hits the last couple of years. So he's going to continue to motor on. And, the party keeps on going. He leaves the AFC where he reigned supreme for 2 decades, jumps right into the NFC. And as much as it pains me to say, he wasn't supposed to be able to come over here and get to the NFC Championship game. Somebody was supposed to stop him before he got here. But we looked at the entire NFC bracket and we said, who's stopping anybody from doing anything? Like, honestly, there isn't one dominant team. And honestly, this Buccaneers team is fully capable. We already saw them take it to Aaron Rodgers and company before. They are fully capable of going to Lambeau and winning and getting to the Super Bowl. And so we always said before this thing started, on the AFC side, it's either Kansas City, and we felt like it was Buffalo late. As they started to come on and they grabbed hold of that 2 seed, like those 2 teams look like they can score on anybody. They look like the 2 teams that are the best in that side of the bracket. But it's really Kansas City. That's the one that scares everybody. On the NFC side, all bets are off. It could be any of the 7 teams. Wouldn't shock me if any combination of those, except for probably the Bears, it wouldn't have shocked me if any of those combination of 2 teams would have gotten to the NFC Championship game. It really would not have, because the NFC was so wide open and there wasn't a dominant team. And at one point we thought it was the Rams. At one point it looked like, early on in the season, the Bucs started to come on. We thought maybe it could be the Bucs. They were scoring points. Then, at one point it was the Rams after they destroyed the Patriots on a Thursday night. And so, and then it ultimately ended up being, then it was the Saints for a while there. They had the number 1 seed and they looked like they weren't going to relinquish it. And then it ultimately turned out to be Green Bay. And now the defense is playing much better. And so it should be a fun matchup next week. The championship Sunday is complete. You have Bills, Chiefs, and Packers. More likely than not, Packers, Rodgers, Brady will be in the nightcap. They're going to put that on because that's the more desirable matchup. They're going to put that one on late if I had to guess. I could be wrong, but if I had to guess, your 305 matchup will be in the AFC. It'll be Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills versus, will it be Patrick Mahomes? I think he'll be ready to go. Concussions are tough, because generally when a guy has a concussion, he usually misses a game. We'll see what happens. But it'll be the Bills and the Chiefs at 3:05, and I think it's going to be Bucs and Packers at 6:40 next week. But in any event, if you're out there and you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Go ahead and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And also, hit that like button if you haven't already done so as well. Got some super chats. Want to get to those before I get to the comment section. Jizzle, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jizzle writes, Streets saying Brees looked like Dwayne. He damn sure did. I would not lie. He looked terrible in this game. He wasn't seeing the field well. Like that Kamara pick at the end. Kamara was screaming up the seam, wide ass open. He threw it in the one spot that it was going to get picked off. If he had the capability to put some air on it, which he doesn't, because that would have required him to throw it 20 yards down the field, and he's just not fit to do it. But if he would have thrown that thing over the top instead of on a straight line, that's a completion down the middle of the field. It's a big play in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers territory. Instead, he throws it on a rope. Kamara's not even looking for it yet. And Devin White says, don't mind if I do. That's a hell of a catch by Devin White, too. That was not an easy ball to catch. He snatched that thing out of the air like it was nothing. So, Brees definitely looked like Dwayne in this game, for damn sure. The streets ain't lying, man. Streets is watching, and they talking. Alerts of Orthanic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Alerts of Orthanic writes, Saints just lost me 2 Benjamins, 4 turnovers, LOL. Hey, man, I would not have, again, first of all, if that's not your family business, and maybe it is, if that's not your family business, keep your nose out of other people's family affairs. I've already told you guys that if that's not your family business, stay out of it, okay? And another thing, generally stay away from bets that don't involve your team. Again, one of these 2 teams could be your team. Stay away from bets that don't involve your team, because you don't know what's going on with another team. I first of all, I didn't know that there was a realistic possibility that there would be no Taysom Hill. And I'm not saying that Taysom Hill is the end-all, be-all, but I guarantee you he changes the way they call this game. That's for damn sure. And I thought after not having Latavius Murray last week, I thought he'd be back this week, but he wasn't. So, those things changed the game. You win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day. So looks like you will be able to maybe get it back next time. We'll see. Excuse me. Got another super chat. This one is from Delano Miller. Thank you for the super chat, Delano Miller, who writes, man, Heineke did better than Brees against Tampa's D. There was also no Devin White. All right, keep that in mind. Like, you saw the difference that this guy makes. A huge difference. All that running and shit that we were doing with Heineke, he was scrambling around and Mentor couldn't catch him. I guarantee you Devin White would have caught his ass. Now, that's not to say that Devin White wouldn't have been in coverage somewhere and Heineke still wouldn't have been able to escape. But you see how much of a difference Devin White makes to that Buccaneers defense. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, but if he wasn't blitzing, I still like my chances. Again, if you push the football down the field against this Buccaneers defense, you're gonna have some opportunities because they're so young, they're so green, breath smelling like Similac back there in that secondary. You can expose them, and unfortunately, that the Saints just are incapable of doing that right now. Silver V, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my man. Silver V writes, Chad Henne can get the ball to Tyreek Hill, but Sean Payton and Drew Brees can't get it to Michael Thomas. It feels like what happened to Todd Gurley with the Rams. He may be on his way out of the NO. I don't think he's going anywhere. He just signed that contract again. The Saints are always strapped for cash. Brees not coming back and retiring is going to free up some of that space because I think he signed a 2-year deal, but I think it was a option on that second year of the deal. So it's going to free up quite a bit of cap space for them moving forward. Michael Thomas is a huge part of what they do offensively. There are ways to get him the football, absolutely. Even a hitch, a wide receiver screen, anything like that, a slant. There are ways to get him involved. But where he does his damage is in that short to intermediate game. And again, a lot of what he's able to do is predicated off of stretching the defense out, getting the safeties out of the middle of the football field by being able to run vertical up the field, and the Bucs they were sitting on everything. They were physical with those receivers at the line of scrimmage. They were running with these guys. And again, none of these guys really scare you from a speed perspective. And another injury that hurt them was the injury to the return man that was killing them at the beginning of the game. He hurt the Bears last week with his quickness and his speed, getting in and out of breaks. And that would have really benefited them in this game because none of the other guys had the quickness or the speed to really separate, E-Man Sands getting up there, in age, getting a little long in the tooth. Not as quick as he used to be. Still can win, but not as much as he used to. Traquan Smith, as I talked about already, he can run, but he was hobbled. You could tell he wasn't 100%. He was giving it a go, though, out there, but he wasn't 100%. And Michael Thomas has never been a burner. Never been a guy that's been the quickest in and out of breaks. His ability to get open has always been predicated on, one, his physicality at the stem of a route, two, the defense having to be wary of Brees stretching the football field vertically. How many times have we seen Jared Cook run up the seam, or any tight end for that matter, with Drew Brees at quarterback, run up the seam and Brees hit him 30 yards down the field or 25 yards down the field, and that loosens things up. And now with that, the inability to be able to do that, we can just clamp down and bring everything down, and we can jump on any little thing that they run. You can't run the little Z outs. You can't run the little jerk routes and all of those things. They sitting all over all of those things because they don't expect you to go, like, you can't run an out and up. Who's getting you the ball on the out and up? You got to throw the out. Brees can't get you the football on the up. So they didn't have to think. They could just go out and play, and that's what those young players in Tampa in that secondary need to be able to do. Not think, just go out and play. And they were able to do that today. Chad Henne isn't compromised, and this is the thing you got to understand. Drew Brees is physically compromised, right? So he can't push it down the field. There's nothing wrong with Chad Henne other than the fact that he stinks. So he can throw it 30, 40, 50 yards down the field. We saw it. Hell, he decided to chuck it 40 yards into the end zone for an interception. Threw a Hail Mary up, essentially. On a first down, I think it was either a first or a second down play call. He throws a Hail Mary and gets picked up. There's nothing wrong with Chad Henne physically. He just stinks. Whereas Drew Brees is actually compromised. Probably shouldn't have been playing if we're being brutally honest with one another. No excuses. Nobody was talking about Brees shouldn't be playing when they beat Carolina in Week 17 or when they beat Chicago last week. He just wasn't good, period. Got another super chat. This one is from Craig Smith. My man Craig writes, APB on Can't Find Mike tonight, Lou. It's Can't Guard Mike. And you're right, Can't Find Mike was the real answer. It hasn't just been this game tonight. It's been this season, Can't Find Mike. All right, I told you, this was a lost year for him. You remember early I want to say it started in camp. Like there was something off in camp. He wasn't happy then. It seemed like something was wrong. I can't tell you what it was. He just got paid not too long ago, so I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the whole Drew Brees comments in the offseason that stirred the pot a bit. They said that that was water under the bridge and that they had gotten past that. And I'd like to think that they did. He sat down, heartfelt apology to everybody. That's done. All right. I don't know what was wrong with him, though. Something was wrong with him coming into camp. Not physically. Seemed like something, mentally, emotionally was off. Then he gets hurt in week 1 against these same Bucs. He hurts his foot. And then it takes this man like 9 weeks to come back. And, after 4 weeks, everybody's like, hey, man, you good or what? And he just kept kind of stringing it along like, nah, I ain't good. we didn't know. Like, are you trying to force your way out? Like, what's really going on right now? So, at the end of the day, he was a non-factor this entire season for the Bucs, and that's why I said this was one of Sean Payton's best coaching jobs, because he had to coach around no Drew Brees, he had to coach around essentially no Michael Thomas, and all of the musical chairs that they were playing at the receiver position, at quarterback. It was a lot, and they figured it out, man. And they got the second best record in the NFC. And you got to give him credit for that. Got to give him a ton of credit. But can't guard Mike, couldn't find Mike all season long, not just tonight. Got another super chat. This one is from my man Craig Smith as well. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you, Craig Smith, who writes, breaking news, LOL, Brandon Staley to the Chargers. Is that true? If that is in fact true, I guess you guys couldn't wait on Brian Daboll. I mean, and I know, I want to say it was you who really was pushing for Brian Daboll to get the job in Los Angeles. Let's see. Let's check this out and see what's going on. Yeah, there it is. Chargers hired DC Brandon Staley as their new head coach. Congratulations to Brandon Staley, the former defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams. He had a meteoric rise this year as the Rams had the best defensive unit in all of football. And he was heading that. And I remember Sean McVay early in the season saying that he wanted the commentators to keep it down about Brandon Staley because he didn't want to lose him this quickly. And it just took 1 year as Rams defensive coordinator for him to get a gig. So they go defense when the prevailing thought was you got this young quarterback sitting here dying to be nurtured. The thought was they're going to find a young offensive-minded guy to marry with this young quarterback and try to make beautiful music for the next 2 decades. Obviously, they went in a different direction. And they got the pieces defensively to turn that Chargers defense into the Rams defense. Now, they don't have an Aaron Donald on their football team, but they got all the other requisite pieces. If they could just stay healthy. We say that every single year with the Chargers, but they have so much defensive talent that it's not even funny. So much defensive speed. If they can get the Florida State safety to stay healthy, that's a big get for them. You drafted Murray this year. You got Drew Tranquil. You got all of these, Nwosu, all of these guys, of course, Bosa and Ingram, and all these talented studs defensively. If you could just stay healthy, he's going to have a lot to work with. The question now is, how does he fill out this staff? I'm interested to see who the offensive coordinator ultimately is in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Got another super chat. This one is from, thank you for that update too, Craig Smith. Got a super chat here from Fat American. Thank you for the super chat, Fat American. Greatly appreciate you. My man Fat American writes, yo, my boy Louie T finally caught the live stream. Time to start throwing money at my boy. What's good, bruh? Nothing's up, man. Just sitting here talking ball as always, man. Bucs get a big win against the Saints. Traveling to Lambeau next week to see if really, the two best quarterbacks, I shouldn't disrespect Peyton Manning like that. Two of the best quarterbacks of our generation are squaring off in a matchup that we would have paid money to have seen when Brady was in New England and Rodgers was with Rodgers in Green Bay 5 years ago, them, meeting in the Super Bowl. So the fact that we're getting it now, this feels, I'm gonna be honest with you, this feels Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather-ish to me. Like, we got this shit 5 years later than we should have, and it's not the same. I'm not salivating the way I would have been 5, 6, 7 years ago. Brady versus Rodgers. But it's still Brady versus Rodgers. So I'm going to be glued to my seat and can't wait to watch that one. But feels like we got this a little bit later. And you know, Rodgers not necessarily, but Brady definitely past his prime. Still playing at a high enough level. So, similar to Manny Pacquiao. If we were comparing the two, Rodgers is Floyd Mayweather. Brady is Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao's the one that's past his prime. Not by much. He's still good enough to beat up some good fighters, but he ain't good enough to beat Floyd Mayweather. It's kind of the same way I feel here, but we'll see. We'll see what the hell happens next week. Should be interesting. That said, got another super chat. This one is from Malcolm Goodall. Thank you for the super chat, Malcolm, who writes, Byron Leftwich deserves a head coaching opportunity. I don't really know about that. I don't know how I feel about Byron Leftwich. I told you I had some issues with some of the play calls tonight. You know, it's 3rd and 3, and you're going to take a shot to Gronk. And I told you, I don't have a problem with taking shots on 3rd down and short. You know, scared money don't make money. But there's a time and a place for everything. You know, and I've always said Brady's at his best when he's nickel and diamond. That's what Brady did better than anybody I've ever seen in my life in New England. And they haven't really done, to me, a tremendous job of meshing that here in, you know, I hear a lot of people say, well, it's a mesh of what he did in New England and you know, what Arians likes to do. It's probably like 70% Arians and maybe 30% of what Brady was doing back in New England. I don't think they throw it short enough. That's when Brady's at his best. That's when he's surgical. All this deep throwing and him pushing it down the field, especially in those 3rd and short situations. Like, there was a 3rd and 3 deep ball. There was a 3rd and 1 deep ball. Like, what are we doing? Why? Convert, get you a fresh set of downs, and if you want to take a shot on 1st or 2nd down. Get the 1st down, though. That's the kind of stuff I don't know. I'm not a big Byron Leftwich fan yet, you know, as an offensive play caller. So, hard for me to co-sign on that. Got another super chat. This one is from my man, JL Smooth, John Livingston. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my man. John writes, what up, Lou? Had a little too much fun tonight. Paying for it now. Hey, you are allowed to have as much fun as you like. Your team has finally made it to the AFC Championship game. Long time coming. Live it up, bruh. You don't know if this is happening again. You know, I bet you Miami Dolphins fans back in 1984, when in his 2nd year in the league, Dan Marino takes them to the Super Bowl. I bet you they thought they were going to be in the Super Bowl 4 or 5 more times, Elway style, the remainder of his career. They never made it back under Dan Marino. So you don't know if you're going to get back here again with Josh Allen or not. Live it up. Live it up. He says, man, Brees is an all-time great, but he looks washed, man. He's hurt. He's banged up. Like, even earlier this season, Brees didn't look like this. Like, we know what it is, but it's probably time for him to go. He's 42 years old. You know, the one thing I can't stand with these old dudes, though, is when they get a little bit of pressure, man. It don't take much. That's why I was so disappointed what happened last week with Washington against Brady. If you could just get a little bit of pressure, these dudes do not want to get hit. Just the slightest pressure, and they throwing that shit away. Throwing it into the ground, throwing it 5 rows up. They ain't extending a damn thing. And you can see, like, his heart is, he's done. He's out of it. He said that, and going off his reactions on those 2 picks, he was expecting different angles. Look, you could tell it was a little bit of, it was a lot of it was him, but some of it was his players too. Like, on the last pick, Jared Cook, how does the ball hit you in your shoulder? I get it. You got a guy diving underneath. I think it was Levante David diving underneath, and he might have flashed in front of you, but that doesn't mean you reaching over here and the shit hit you here. Like, what are we doing here, guy? And then there was a slant he threw to E-Man Sand, and Troy Aikman, I thought he did a great job of pointing this out. You don't drift up the field. That's how you get balls picked off. You got to come down flat on that slant. You drifting up the field trying to catch it and get up the field, But you're allowing that defender to come underneath and make a play on the ball. If he comes flat, straight across, that's a catch. And so, it's little intricacies like that make the difference, But he wasn't good. I'm not sitting here making any excuses for him. He wasn't good. He was not good at all. Let's see. Got another super chat. This one is from Brian Norfleet. Thank you for the super chat, Brian Norfleet. Greatly appreciate you, my man. Brian writes, do the Saints turn to Taysom Hill now? Also, does Bieniemy get a head coaching gig this year? As far as the Saints turning to Taysom Hill, that's an interesting question, man. Brian, I'm going to tell you what. I've mulled over this thing, 6 ways to Sunday. I think that Sean Payton is very intrigued by what Taysom Hill could do for a full 16 games. But I think he also knows there's some limitations to what Taysom Hill can do for 16 games. I think he likes his Taysom Hill the way that he's using him right now. They have claimed they want to keep Jameis Winston. To what degree, though? Jameis was willing to come there as a backup for 1 year, $1.1 million. Jameis isn't settling for $1.1 million to come back and be a backup again. He wants to play. And I don't know if he's going to get an opportunity to play somewhere else or not. But I can tell you this. He's not coming back to New Orleans to be a backup to Taysom Hill. I can tell you that's not that's not the way he views this thing. And, I need to say this too. I think this is something that needs to be said. Despite what you may have heard, contrary to popular belief, Jameis Winston can actually play football. Yeah, there's a turnover problem. I'm not dismissing that, nor am I overlooking it or ignoring it. But he can throw the football. He was the #1 overall pick for a reason. He's talented. I think he's going to get another shot somewhere. Either that's going to be in New Orleans next year or somewhere else. But Jameis Winston can still play. So they've got a decision to make. And they re-signed Taysom Hill last year, paid him some good money. A lot of people speculated that wasn't, gadget guy, personal protector, fullback, tight end, and gadget quarterback type money. That was at some point we turning the reins over to you money. We'll see. That's an interesting decision. They've got quite the decision on their hands. As far as Bieniemy getting a head coaching gig this year, if I had to guess right now, as we sit here on January 17th, I'd say no. I don't think he will get one, unfortunately. I know that the Texans are strongly considering him now, looking at their circumstances, realizing that they need to do anything they can in their power to appease Deshaun Watson. He's all of a sudden now turning into a strong candidate. And then, also on top of that, as Adam Schefter tweeted out today, that job has become toxic to the point now where not only was it the least desirable job, and I don't think people understood the tweet. Adam Schefter said that someone in that Texans organization, obviously speaking on condition of anonymity, said that this Texans job has gone from the least desirable, meaning you still wanted the job because there was Deshaun Watson. But of the 7, head coaching vacancies, or it was 6, then the 7th came with the Eagles. Of the 7 vacancies, if you rank them, the Texans job was the one you wanted the least because of the cap situation, because of the draft capital situation. But there was always Deshaun Watson, and so you're like, there's that. There's Watson, there's Watt, there's some stuff here. But it was the least desirable. Now it's gone from the most undesirable job in the league, not just of the 7 openings, of the league. Like, dudes that are on the fringe of getting jobs are like, nah, I'm going to just wait. I'm good. So, it wouldn't surprise me. This is how they do the brothers, though. if I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, this is because we don't get to choose when we get jobs. When they offer them to us, we got to take them. So you don't get to do what Sean Payton did once upon a time when Bill Parcells said, hey, don't take that job in Oakland with the Raiders. There'll be a better job out there for you. You just sit tight and wait for another opportunity. And then he ultimately got the Saints job the next year. Brothers can't do that. You get an opportunity to be a head coach, you got to take it, whether it's a good situation or not. You may not get another opportunity. You don't get to turn down a job and say, hey, I'll get another one next time around. You got to take that damn job. If they offer you the gig, it might be the worst damn job. Nobody else wants the shit. You got to take it. So it might turn out to be where they can't get anybody else to sign on the dotted line in Houston. And Bieniemy might be like, I'll take the job. Shit, I can't get nobody else to offer me a gig. I'll take it. It's Deshaun Watson if I can get him to stay. And if I'm Bieniemy, I'm not taking the job unless I talk to Watson and tell him, hey, they offered me the job. I'm only taking it if you stand. And if he says, hey, I'll work with you, coach, then I'll take the job. If he says, hey, coach, it's a lot deeper than you. I would love to play for you, but I just can't play for this organization anymore. Then I would tell them, hey, I'm good, man. I'm going back to Kansas City. To hell with y'all. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Eric Bieniemy. It's fascinating. It really is. Got another super chat. This one is from Michael Weinstein. Thank you, or Weinstein. Excuse me. Thank you for the super chat, Michael Weinstein, who writes, if we can't resign all D linemen, who's gone? If I had to guess, it's hard to say. Because Jonathan Allen, to me, would be the most dispensable of the four. But he's the first up. So if you want to make an example of what you do with guys that do it the right way, and you reward them, you resign Jonathan Allen. So I think Allen's going to be back. And it's Payne after that. I don't see any way he's not back. Then it's Sweat after that. He might be the one that I think may be the odd man out. Because the two defensive tackles, you're going to be able to re-sign both of them. They're not going to cost you as much. D tackles don't force you to break the bank. Defensive ends force you to break the bank. So if I had to guess, of all of the guys on the defensive line right now, if you ask me which one wouldn't be back, I'd tell you it's Montez Sweat. That's the one that may not be able to re-sign when it's all said and done. It pains me to say that. And they may be able to re-sign all these guys because, as we can see, currently, there isn't a quarterback that they're paying an inordinate amount of money to. And even if they draft a young guy that they love, they won't have to pay him for 4 or 5 years down the road, depending on where they take him in the drafts. So, needless to say, that's a decision that they'll have to make down the road. We don't have to travel down that road right now. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But if you put a gun to my head and you say, well, you're not getting one of these dudes back, which one is it going to be? I'd guess that it would be Montez Sweat. Because the defensive end position is very pricey. I don't know if you can afford to re-sign both of those guys. Got another super chat. This one is from Charles Barkley. Thank you for the super chat, Charles Barkley, who writes, if Tom caps this run with a Super Bowl, is he better than Jordan? Two different sports, obviously, but he probably would. I think nobody would elevate any athlete over Jordan. I mean, you got some people that grew up with Kobe and that's their guy and that's cool. But for me, nobody's better than Jordan in any sport. Jordan's the best athlete I've ever seen, the most clutch, the best killer, all of that stuff. Brady's damn close. And there's something to be said about rings. When they enter the conversation, things change. And right now, where's Tom sitting? Is Tom at 6? I lose track. He's been to so many goddamn Super Bowls, man. Seriously. Let me recap. I need to get this right. They won 3 out of 4 early on. So I know that's 3 right there. They beat the Rams. They beat the Falcons 5. He's won 5. They didn't beat the Giants twice. I don't think I'm forgetting any of them. Falcons, They lost to the Eagles once. They lost to the Giants twice. So 5 rings. So if he gets the 6th, that puts him in Jordan territory. All right, that's crazy. And unlike basketball, where the best team always wins, this is football, where the best team doesn't always win. And there's something to be said about every time Brady plays. A lot of, I shouldn't say every time because he's lost his fair share of Super Bowls, but he's more like LeBron to me. LeBron's lost a bunch of finals, but that's because he goes every year. You're going to lose some when you go all the damn time. So, to me, I think if he caps this run, there is no question who the best ever is. I think it's already Tom Brady, personally, myself. But he goes to the other conference, and in his first season, not only does he go there, but he breaks this long-standing NFL tradition of teams not playing in their home stadium in the Super Bowl. He goes to Tampa. First year, they're playing in Tampa in the Super Bowl, and they win it. And not only does he get there, but I get it. It was Taylor Heineke in the first game. But he'll have to beat, more likely than not, and we'll see what happens with the Chiefs, but he'll have to beat the league. He'll have to beat Drew Brees. It's not the Drew Brees we've come to know and love, but it's Drew Brees. 5 years from now, we won't remember that Drew Brees was compromised and he threw 3 interceptions and looked horrible. We just say, hey, he beat Drew Brees. He beat the league MVP and Aaron Rodgers in his building. Just like he beat Brees in his building. And then Patrick Mahomes, who played at an MVP-like level this year, he beat him too. That's assuming that the Bills don't take him out first. And even if it's Josh Allen, that's another young pup on the way up. And if he takes him out, what more can I say? It ain't really much more to say. So I'm going to just tell you right now, they've gotten further than I ever thought they were getting this year. Remember, before the season, I predicted that they wouldn't even make the postseason. So, I didn't expect them to mesh and gel the way that they did. Remember, we saw some issues. There were some chinks in the armor. And they figured it out. And I think what really helped them was that late bye. They had one of the latest buys. Them and Carolina, the 2 latest buys in the season. I think their bye wasn't until like week 13. Had that bye week been in week 7, they might have been in trouble this year. Because they went stumbling into that bye. They came out of that bye guns a-blazing. And they never looked back. And they've been really good ever since. So, we'll see what happens. Got another super chat. Is it 6? Brady's got 6? Did I miss one? All right, so let's go through this again. He won the first Super Bowl against the Rams. He won the next year against Carolina. And then they took a year off, and then they won the next time against the Eagles. So that's 3 and 4 years. They didn't get back to the Super Bowl until 2007 after 2004. That's when they lost to the Giants when they were undefeated. They didn't get back to the Super Bowl after that until 2011. That's when they lost to the Giants again the second time around. They didn't play in the Super Bowl in 12 or 13 or 14. I'm trying to think. Maybe they were there in 14. I know 12 was the Ravens. 13 was the Seahawks. They beat the Seahawks. That's the one I forgot. The damn Seahawks. You're right. It is 6. Shit. He wins 7? Wow. Yeah, that's the one I forgot. 2014, they beat the Seahawks. That's the one I skipped over. Yikes. Yeah, I always forget with Brady. That's how good he is. He wins his 7th. That would probably make him first of all, if he wins his 7th, it'll make him the best winner we've ever seen in our lifetime. Period. The old people will bring up Bill Russell and all these people that have won, all these championships. We don't know any of those guys. We didn't see any of those guys play. We're talking about this era, the modern era, Super Bowl era, if you will, for the NFL, if we're talking just specifically the NFL. We've never seen a winner quite like Brady. He's got 6 already. I thought I saw a picture with him with the Jordan pose with extra ring on one of his fingers. Man's got 6 Super Bowls. Crazy talk. If he gets a 7th, it's a wrap. Anyway, I digress. Thank you guys for correcting me, because you know I'm quick to make a mistake like that. And I damn sure overlooked that 2014 Super Bowl. Shouldn't have won that one. Shouldn't have won the one against the Falcons either. He really should only have 4 Super Bowl rings, if you want to be honest. John Livingston, my man J.L. Smooth. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you. My man J.L. Smooth writes, you think the Jets will land Watson? It sounds like the relationship is damaged far beyond repair. Houston is an absolute mess right now. This is the thing. The Jets can't land anyone. This is what people fail to understand about this whole dynamic. Deshaun Watson gets to pick where he goes. The Texans have no control over where he goes. None. 0. He has a no trade clause. So if they say, hey, we got this sweet deal for you to go to the Jets, he goes, no, not going to the Jets. Oh, man, we got this awesome deal for you to go to Jacksonville. I'm not going to Jacksonville. Dude, we got this sweet package talking about some sweet action for you to go to Washington. I'm not going to Washington. He could make a short list of teams he wants to go play for. He could say, I want to play for the 49ers. I want to play for the Dolphins. And I'll play for Chicago. Or the Saints. You can't find a deal with one of those 4 teams. Get out of my face. To which the Texans could say, well, look, either you go where we get the best deal or we're not trading you. And then that's, again, Deshaun doesn't have any power other than I don't want to play and I'll sit at home, which he's perfectly within his right to do. But again, the new CBA stops guys from sitting out because of the amount of fines you incur and the fact that the team can no longer waive them. They could essentially get in a standoff and play a game of chicken. And the Texans organizationally could win that game of chicken. Deshaun Watson is not in a position, but again, you don't want a guy that doesn't want to be there. But what I'm not going to do, if I'm the Texans, what I'm not going to do is I am not going to allow you to make me give you away. I'm not having that. Just because you want out and these are the places you want to go, this is not going to turn into an Antonio Brown situation where the Bills have a first-round pick lined up, but AB doesn't want to go there, and the Bills get wind of it, and they're like, you know what? Give me back my damn first-round pick. You go kick rocks. And they ultimately get a third-round pick from the Raiders. You're not doing that. If I'm the Texans, I am getting everything I want and then some for this guy, and either he can go along with the deal. If he wants out so bad, you'll go wherever the hell I send you. Or you can not go and you can keep your ass right here in Houston. Those are your 2 choices. Either you can play with us or you can play wherever the hell I send you. Wherever I get the best deal for you. You don't want to roll with that? Then tough titties. So I don't know where the hell he's going to land. Honestly, it's a toss-up. It really is. If he goes, I'm still not convinced he's going anywhere, personally. We'll see what happens, though. Damon Brown, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My man Damon Brown writes, Todd Bowles with the Jets. You know, that would be irony. But obviously, they've already filled their head coaching vacancy with a defensive-minded guy. But Bowles was there before. And I thought he got a raw deal. So we'll see what happens. But he's referring to what I said. When as a minority in this league, you got to take jobs when they come available. And you usually get the short end of the stick because it's the job that nobody else wants a lot of times. I'll give you a great example in Arizona. You know, what's the name of that damn defensive? Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilks was not. First of all, I didn't think Steve Wilks was ready to get an NFL job personally. Didn't think he was prepared for what being an NFL head coach was all about. That being said, he must have said something in the interview that wowed the Cardinals, and they decided to make him their next head coach. It was not a desirable job at the time. The quarterback position was all out of whack. The offense was really, really stagnant at the time. They were still retooling. The defense was middle of the road at best. It wasn't a good situation to be in. But he took the job, and he got embarrassed. He was terrible. They fired him after one season, and he's tarnished. He's stained. He might be a great candidate down the road, but no one's going to forget that 1 year in Arizona. That's and same thing with what's my man name? That's a defensive coordinator with the Browns now. That was the head coach of the Broncos. He was terrible too. I'm not going to sit here and defend him because he's a brother. He was horrible. Just like Steve Wilks was horrible in Arizona. But he was ass. But he was in a tough spot. No quarterback. Just like Todd Bowles didn't have a quarterback with the Jets. And these are the jobs that these guys have to take, because if you don't take the job, there won't be another one out there for you. So, I feel you, Damon. Let's see. Got another super chat. This one is from John Livingston. Thank you for tripling up, JL Smooth. Greatly appreciate you. As always, my man JL Smooth writes. Saw this in the chat, and it's true. You do look like Gabriel Davis. Haha. Credit to United we stand. Do I look like Gabe Davis? When I see Gabe Davis, I don't see myself. Like the running joke in the Washington community is I look like Josh Doxson. Or Josh Doxson looks like me, as I would say. And that is true. Josh Doxson does look like me. I think Gabe Davis, we don't have similar features. I could be wrong, but I don't think me and Gabe Davis have similar features. I'd have to look at him again. I don't think we favor, but you guys are Bills fans. You have seen Gabe Davis a million times, many more times than I have. So maybe there is a similarity there. Let's see. So just to get things clear, I'm not comparing Brady to Jordan. Jordan is in a class of his own. I compare Brady to LeBron. Been there a bunch of times, lost his fair share, but won more than he lost. To me, that's who Brady is. And I think when it's all said and done, LeBron will be one of the most winningest players we've ever seen in NBA history. He will have shattered most of, if not all, records. I think that's how the same regard and that same kind of air that I will hold Brady in when it's all said and done. But Jordan's in a separate category onto his own. That's just me personally, how I view it. John Livingston, thank you for your 4th super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My man John Livingston writes, rumored that he really wants to go to New York, though, Lou, at least according to the Jets YouTubers. Who wants to go to the Jets? Help me. Oh, Deshaun Watson wants to go to the Jets. Why the hell would he want to do that? Now, it's a big market. It's New York. But, I mean, and maybe he believes in Robert Saleh. They're just as dysfunctional in New York as they are in Houston. Why in the hell would he want to do that? They don't have any talent in New York. Now, they've got some draft capital, and I think they've got some cap space, and they've got a really good situation in terms of what they could be in the future, and maybe he sees that, and he'd like to be a part of that. But the only reason I've heard the Jets come up is because of what they can offer the Texans. I haven't heard anything about Deshaun Watson wanting to be a Jet. I don't think anybody willingly wants to go to New York to play for the Jets. I don't buy that. Maybe he does. But I've only heard the Jets come up because of what they can offer. And they've got a better situation than anybody else in the league. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah that I saw this from today, a tweet from Daniel Jeremiah, and DJ said that the Jets make the most sense if Watson wants out and the Texans need to move him because they've got the best situation. They've got the second overall pick in this year's draft. They can offer that up. They've got a first-round pick they can offer up next year. Why? Because they've got 2 first-round picks this year. They've got 2 first-round picks next year. So they can offer up a first-rounder this year. They can offer up a first-rounder next year. And they can offer up a first-rounder the following year after that. So that's what it would take, 3 first-rounders. I told you, it's going to be an astronomical deal if you want to move Deshaun Watson. All of these pseudo-trades that I've seen out here with teams giving up limited assets and draft capital, and they're giving up this garbage-ass player and these 2 picks. And I'm like, you don't understand what Deshaun Watson is in this league, do you? When I see some of these trades that are being bandied about. It's going to take, at a minimum, 2 first-rounders and either a stud on a rookie contract or 3 first-round picks, potentially. And so that's why the Jets came up for me, personally. And I can tell you this. Wow, that's a great package. I don't know if it's going to happen. And he said, hey, you're ready. You're welcome. Talk radio. Essentially, like I just gave you something to talk about. So we'll see what happens. Everything's speculation right now. I don't believe that he wants to go to New York to play for the Jets. I find that hard to believe right now. We'll see. He could want to go there. Who knows? The Cubone, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Cubone writes, Rams DC is LA Chargers coach now. My man Craig Smith brought that up already. Thank you for putting that out there, though, Cubone. But yes, Brandon Staley is the next head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. And we talked about that earlier. That's amazing that after 1 year, he has risen to the heights that he has and gotten a job. He must have blown them away in the interview process. And Sean McVay says, Brandon Staley is the defensive version of himself. So that tells you all you need to know about Brandon Staley and how highly regarded he is, obviously, in league circles. And you see the guy getting the job. So that's amazing to me already. Got another super chat. This one is from JP, my man John Perez. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my man. JP writes, wow, Lou, that was truly it for Breezes. Sad to see him go, but at least we finally got Brady versus Rodgers with a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. Yeah, that's it for Breezes, man. And that's not, look, I wanted his ass gone. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, Troy was over like, man, I hope this is not it for Drew Brees. No, carry your ass. Go. I didn't want him to go like that, though. That's not how I envisioned him going out. You know, like he was too good for too long in this league to have that be the last time I saw him. But if that's what it's got to be, deuces. Get your ass out of here. I can't wait to run Brady's ass out of here. Roethlisberger, Rivers, get all these old farts. I'm ready for the new generation, the new wave. Come on, let's let Mahomes and Watson and all these young boys take over. All right, Russell Wilson will be the leader of that new school because he's still technically young, even though he's 30. With the way these guys are playing and the way Russell Wilson takes care of himself and doesn't take big hits, he can play till he's 43, just like the rest of these guys, 45. So I'll put Russell Wilson as the leader of the new school. It'll be Mahomes. It'll be Watson. If these guys, some of these young guys are what we think they are, like Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, it'll be all of those guys, you know, and we'll see if Wentz can get his shit together. But, you know, time to usher in a new group of young quarterbacks, man. Josh Allen, I always want to leave my guy out of that. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I know a lot of you don't love Lamar, don't think he belongs in that discussion. Lamar's in there too, goddammit. It's time for the new blood to take over. Baker Mayfield looks like he's ready. Throw his ass in there too. Let's get the young boys in here, man. Get these old ass farts out of here. And like I said about Brady versus Rodgers, feels like Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. It feels like 5 years too damn late, personally. I should be more geeked for this game than I am, but I'm not. But I still want to see it. Don't get me wrong, I still want to see it. Let's see. Got another super chat here from Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you, Metaphor, who writes, channel name change, LDN, Louie Dotson Network. I think you meant Doxson, not Dotson. Trying to be funny, but I get where you're going. I hear your jokes, okay? I hear your jokes, all right? If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Again, cover all 32 teams. We're about to jump into the draft. If you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. And also hit that notification bell so you don't miss any live streams or any of the other content, Louie T Network podcast included. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And oh yeah, hit the like button too if you don't mind as well. Anyway, that is all. That's all of the super chats. I do want to take a few comments though, real quick, before we get out of here. Let's see. Rodney Ray says, yo, somebody in the mob said something about Dwayne Haskins going to Jacksonville like Jay Gruden is not the offensive coordinator there. But is he still the coordinator there? I mean, the head coach got fired. I don't know if that's about this job. No, he's not there. Urban Meyer's got the job. Jay Gruden's not the offensive coordinator. That's the reason they said that is because Urban Meyer had Dwayne Haskins as his last quarterback at Ohio State. So they're trying to connect dots there. I don't think Urban wants anything to do with Dwayne, but we'll see what happens. But Jay Gruden is not the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville anymore. Let's see. I think that's the last. All right, here's another comment here. Atlanta fan 21 says, someone brought up Watson go to Carolina, and that'd be kind of scary, honestly. CMC, Moore, Anderson, Watson would be dangerous. It would be dangerous. But honestly, if I'm Houston and I'm trading you Deshaun Watson, I wouldn't want any of those guys you just named because Christian McCaffrey signed a big deal and I'm trying to shed cap. I would probably want, if I wanted a player, I would want Brian Burns, or I would want your first round pick from last year, Brown. It'd take a hell of a lot to get him there, but if you could get him there, you're right. That'd be a dangerous offense. That'd be scary even. But, hell, just adding Deshaun Watson to just about any offense changes that offense dynamically, and it makes them scary because he's scary, So, whether it's Carolina or could you imagine him playing for Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco? Are you serious? With their running game the way it is, could you imagine him in that offense? Stop. Be ridiculous. Got another super chat. Gonna take this one. It's from my man John Livingston, JL Smooth. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for your 4th super chat of the night. My man JL Smooth might be your 5th. Really appreciate you. JL Smooth writes, can I just send a shout out to Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, and Shannon Sharp for picking the Ravens to blow out the Bills. Can't wait for tomorrow. Bills Mafia donated over $150K to Lamar's charity, though. It should be fun. I didn't realize that so many people thought the Bills were going to lose the game. That makes me uncomfortable because I picked the Ravens as well. Now, I didn't pick them to blow the Bills out, which it sounds like those clowns did. However, I did think the Ravens were going to go to Buffalo and win because they had the kind of team that Buffalo didn't want to see. I was very impressed with the Bills' defense, way more than I thought I was going to be, and they showed me something last night. But that was a game there for the taking if the Ravens wanted it, and they just simply couldn't make enough plays. That said, I would not have picked the Ravens, even though I did think they were going to win. If I would have known it, and I didn't realize it until last night as I'm doing the video, so many people were like, everybody was picking the Ravens to beat us. And I'm like, really? I didn't feel that. You know, most people I talked to thought the Bills were going to win the game. And then I saw Stephon Diggs, talk about how everybody wanted them to lose. And I'm like, is this a thing? Was this really a thing? And apparently it was. Apparently everybody in the universe that are these experts thought that the Bills were going to lose the game. And if I would have known that, then I would have picked the Bills to win because they have no clue. Zero. So I just picked the Ravens, and I thought it was going to be a close game. Anybody that thought that the Ravens were going to go to Buffalo and blow them out, insane. The Ravens don't blow anybody out anymore, other than Cincinnati. Okay? That's not what they do. So that was negligence, pure negligence on their part, if that's what they thought was going to happen. But I'm glad that they won to shut a lot of those people up. And if Mahomes is healthy, and I don't know if that's going to be the case, we're getting the best possible matchup. Arguably, we got the best possible matchups in both conferences, if we want to be honest with ourselves. Like, the Saints offensively weren't going to be able to score enough to beat Green Bay. At least we know Tampa is fully capable. We're getting the best matchup I think we could have gotten in the NFC. We know we're getting the best possible matchup in the AFC. It's the 1 seed and the 2 seed. I think at the end of the day, we got it right. Now let's see if we can get the 2 right teams to the Super Bowl. And I don't know who those teams are. I told you personally, you know what I want to see. But we'll see. I never get what I want. But I'm a Josh Allen fan. I would love nothing more than to see Josh Allen win a Super Bowl after everybody told him what he couldn't do after he was drafted by the Bills. So I'd love nothing more than to see the young fella get it done. So I can't lose in this one. The only way I come out of this upset is if Brady comes into the NFC. And I'm only being territorial here. This isn't anything against Brady. I'm not a Brady fan, by the way, but I acknowledge greatness when it's in my presence. And we haven't seen a guy like this before, but I talked so much shit this offseason about Brady ain't going to just waltz into the conference. And I stand hard and firm for mine. I'm an NFC guy through and through. All right. And I say, he ain't going to just waltz into this conference and come over here and just win some shit. That ain't how it. Same way I was with LeBron when he went to the West. Like, I'm a West guy. F LeBron, he ain't going to just come over here and start winning shit. He had to sit that first year out. After that, I'm like, hey, it's free game now. They got Anthony Davis. All bets are off. Go do your thing. But that first year, I'm like, you ain't just coming over here and winning shit. Matter of fact, your ass can't even go to the playoffs. Well, Brady not only made it to the playoffs, I tried to put the same kibosh on his ass. Not only did he make it to the playoffs, he's in the NFC Championship game. He's 1 game away from doing what no other team has been able to do, and that's play a home game in the Super Bowl. I won't stand for that shit. I won't allow it. But we'll see. They 1 game away. That's for damn sure. So we'll see what the hell happens. But, man, big ups to the Bills Mafia, man. They've got to be the nicest people in the world up there in Buffalo, in northern New York. Like, they're the equivalent of your mom beating your ass, and then after she's done, coming over and hugging you and kissing you and saying, now, you know, mama didn't want to have to do that to you, but you can't be doing this. I'm sorry. I didn't want to do that. I love you. Don't make me have to do that. Like, there's nothing worse than, well, there are worse things than getting your ass beaten and having someone be nice to you after they beat your ass. But this Bills Mafia, man, there's something else. They're different. I love them. How can you not? Andy Dalton helps them get into the playoffs. They flood his charity with a bunch of donations. They knock Lamar Jackson out of the game. They feel bad about it. And it's his absence from the game that might have secured their spot in the AFC Championship game. And they flood his favorite charity with donations. Who else is doing that? How can you not love Bills Mafia? They're different. Rest in peace to Pancho Bila, man. Martin Matthews, Double M. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my man. Double M writes, when are you doing your draft show? Shows? They're coming soon. I'm working on all the behind the scene things, getting everything fine tuned, and then obviously got to watch the film, right? So I'm in the process of getting that started. Hoping to unveil that in the next week or two. It will be before the season is over from a Super Bowl standpoint. We'll have some draft content out there already, and we're going to get this show started here shortly. So be on the lookout for that in the very, very near future, something like the next week or two for sure. Let's see. Got any more comments before we get out of here? Got one here. Atlas says, let's effing go. I wanted this game so bad, Lou. Goodbye, Brees. Goodbye, Saints. I wanted them to know it was me, and now they know. You know what? That's nothing but years of pent-up frustration with a guy kicking your ass for so many years. And you're like, you know what? Not only do I want him to go, I want him to know it was me. I want to look him in the eyes as I drive this dagger through his heart. I need him to see it's me before we kill his career. You know? I need him to understand. I need to take off the mask, look him in his eyes, and let him know it was me. Get the hell out of here. I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at it one bit. That's what Bills fans wanted to do to Brady, and they couldn't do it. They wanted to be the one to run him out of the conference, run him out of the division, and say, it was us. It ended up being Miami who did it, though. It wasn't them. I ain't mad at you at all. Cody Larson says, I am not usually an NFL is rigged guy, but are we sure? I see the writing on the wall. We don't have a chance. Bucs versus Chiefs Super Bowl. Nah, don't do that. That's not what they want at all. If you want me to be honest with you, I think it might be even better if it's Mahomes Rodgers, because the Packers are a bigger market share than Tampa in terms of the fan base. Look, you can't go wrong either way. And either one of those quarterbacks is a massive draw for the NFL, and they want Mahomes. They don't want Allen in the Bills, personally. If there were ever any conspiracy theorists out there, that it would be on the AFC side, not the NFC side. The NFL can't lose with either one. It's not like Jared Goff and the Rams are trying to infiltrate the Super Bowl, and it's Brady versus Goff, and you're like, they are praying for it to be. And you know that's not what the NFL is about, because if that were the case, they would have never allowed the Saints to lose to the Rams 2 years ago. There's nobody wanted to see the Rams in the Super Bowl. Nobody wanted 13-3. Are you kidding me? Everybody wanted Brady and Brees. We got Goff and Brady. It's one of the worst Super Bowls in recent memory, and usually the NFL doesn't miss in the Super Bowl. Are you not entertained? We are usually entertained every year in the Super Bowl. That was one of the worst. It was a snooze fest. Haven't seen one of those since like 2005. Maybe that Colts Super Bowl against the Bears. It was raining. That was a stink fest. That was a funkster. But outside of those, I mean, we haven't had many duds in the Super Bowl, man. We usually don't miss. You know, the two Steelers Super Bowls, the one with the Cardinals with the comeback at the end, the one with the with Rodgers winning his first Super Bowl, those were good games. You know, any Super Bowl with Brady in it outside of that one has been good. You know, the two Giants Super Bowls, the Eagles Super Bowl, the one with now we did get an ass whooping back in 2013 with the Broncos and the Seahawks. But again, those are rare. Those are rare. We usually get great games. The Seahawks and the Patriots. The Patriots and the Falcons, the Patriots and the Eagles. You see a theme here? Damn Brady. Trying to infiltrate the damn Super Bowl again. I don't think you have anything to worry about, Cody. I'm just going to tell you right now. The NFL, first of all, they don't rig games. You know, don't be that guy. Secondly, the NFL isn't really concerned about who gets in. It's Teflon. The Super Bowl could be Blake Bortles versus Mitchell Trubisky, and you still would watch. You still would watch. So they really don't give a shit who's there. Does it make for better theater? Does it have better storylines if it's Brady or it's Rodgers and it's Mahomes? Absolutely. Absolutely. Does it make for more build-up, more hype? Yes. But just as I just said, if it's Mahomes, if it's Trubisky and the Bears versus Blake Bortles when he was in Jacksonville, you'd still watch. That's the power of the NFL. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're going to watch. They know it. They got a Teflon and a bulletproof product. It can't fail. Atlas says, so the Bucs were going 9-7 this year, huh? Yeah. I offered up a 0-0 in like week 3. I came off of that relatively early. I saw the writing on the wall. It might have been like week 4 or whatever. But I came off of that. I offered up the 0-0. I said my apologies. I knew I made a mistake. I didn't think they would gel and mesh. And I felt vindicated after week 1. I said, I told you guys they were going to stink. And then after like 3 or 4 straight wins, I was like, got that one wrong. And I offered up that 0-0. I saw where that one was going rather quickly. So, yeah, had to eat some crow on that one. I was definitely wrong there. So, there's that. Absolutely. John Livingston, thank you for your 6th Super Chat of the night. Really appreciate you as always. JL Smooth writes, last one. Can I get a prediction for both games this weekend? Come on now. You know that's not until Friday's podcast next week. I can't give that out right now. I can't do that. I can tell you this. I think the Bills have a better chance of winning now than I did at 3:05 today. That's for damn sure. There's a realistic possibility that there is no Patrick Mahomes in the game next Sunday. There is the man was asleep. Out for like 2 seconds on the turf. Got up and the man's legs were drunk. The man's legs were noodles. Wet noodles. They weren't al dente. You got a shot, man. Especially if it's coming down to Chad. Blame it on the Henne. You going to the Super Bowl, bro. So, we'll see. We got time to talk about all of that stuff leading up. And then, obviously, on the NFC side, that's going to be a hell of a game. You know what? I want to see how the Bucs handle the cold weather. You know, Brady for years played in cold weather. But he went to Tampa Bay because he's like, I don't want the cold weather. Like, to hell with the cold weather. And I'm not sure these Buccaneers players are ready for what they about to embark upon. Nobody wants cold weather. Let's stop the lies, okay? Like, nobody, you know, the NFL, it's a league full of tough guys. And you see the guys go out there with no sleeves on because they want you to know that the elements aren't getting to them. But what the hell do they do as soon as they go on the sidelines? They got a guy with a big-ass coat that's insulated, ready to throw that shit on them as soon as they get on the sidelines, okay? Nobody wants to play in cold weather. Period. The Packers will sit here and say, well, we're used to the weather. They may be a little bit more accustomed to it because they playing it more often. They don't want to play in that shit either. They much rather be playing inside or playing at Tampa. Okay? Let's not fool ourselves. But there will be a crowd advantage. All right? There will be a bunch of fans, and those fans were loud. Arrowhead was packed. Arrowhead looked like they were at like 75% capacity today. These teams are like, yo, we made it this far. We're going to let these damn fans in here. We're going to get this place jumping and rocking. We're going to give ourselves a chance to win this shit. So it wouldn't shock me if Green Bay, if Lambeau has 17,000 this week instead of just 9. Because Arrowhead looked like it was about 23,000 fans in there. I don't know what the matter of fact, I'm interested. I'm going to go look it up right now. I want to see what the head count was at Arrowhead. The Saints had 3,750 at their game. We know the Packers had 9,000 yesterday. I'm telling you, Chiefs game looked like it had about 50% capacity. They had 16,730, 22% capacity at that game. I'm going to just tell you right now, I wouldn't be shocked if that shit's up to 30 next week. And in the Green Bay game, let's see how many they had. I remember vividly them saying it was 9,000. But I'm going to check and see. It was 7,439, which is 9%. I wouldn't be shocked if they got that shit up to about 12 or 13%. And it was 15,000 next week. I ain't saying, I'm just saying. But anyway, I digress. Got another super chat here. This one is from Key himself, who writes, Jay Norman getting a ring this year? Maybe. I told you he was going to play well in Buffalo. Didn't I tell you that? I told you. We had him doing things he wasn't supposed to do. Even Ron Rivera, when he first got to Washington, said, hey, they were playing Josh out of position. They was playing Josh wrong. Like, Josh isn't a man-to-man corner. But I told you there were some good things with Josh, but he lost his confidence. He's back in Buffalo, and he's got his swag back. I'm not saying he's nice in Buffalo, but he's not what you thought he was or what we thought he was when he left Washington, which was washed. I told you, I said, watch him go to Buffalo and play well this year. And he has, for the most part. Let's see. Got another super chat here from Metaphor. Thank you for doubling up. Double up. Greatly appreciate you, Metaphor, who writes, why peeps trying to make the NFL not for Lamar? Yeah, that's terrible, man. But I told you yesterday, told you last night, the Lamar and Baltimore Ravens offense slander was going to come, and it was going to be heavy. Heavy, man. And so, are you surprised? You shouldn't be. They scored 3 points last night. You should have known what was to come. The avalanche and the assault and the barrage was coming. That's why I said the Lamar Jackson and Baltimore Ravens offensive slander is coming, and I'm not here for it. I won't stand for it. And so I had to make sure I made my declaration last night. Like, y'all not going to do that to my man. So, anyway. But you're going to see more of that. It is what it is. Key himself, thank you for doubling up. Double up. Greatly appreciate you, Key himself, who writes, if the NFL never rigs games, here we go, conspiracy theorists, I think I know what's coming. Can you explain that missed PI call a couple years ago in the NFC title game that had to be missed on purpose? Refs got paid. Okay, so You just answered my question for me. You answered your own question, honestly. If that's a rigged game, do you think the NFL wants Jared Goff and the Los Angeles Rams against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots? Or they want Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints versus Tom Brady and the New England Patriots? What's more marketable for the NFL? Brady versus Brees or Goff versus Brady? Does that make any sense to you? Like, seriously, if that makes sense to you, then you need to go and wash your face and get your mind right. There's no psychological sense in that, player. You understand what I'm saying? If the league was going to rig it, they'd rig it so that they'd get the best matchup possible. Nobody cared to see Jared Goff and the Rams in the Super Bowl. So why would it benefit the NFL to miss that call on purpose? The guy just missed the call. Shit happens. They missed the call. It happens. He thought it was bang bang. It was not bang bang. He got there early. We see it all the time. So that, to me, if it was the other way around and the Saints benefited from it, where the Saints hit the Rams receiver and they didn't call it, then you could come with that theory that they rigged it and they wanted the Saints in the Super Bowl. That makes more sense than the NFL wanted the Rams and Jared Goff in the Super Bowl because they did not want them in the Super Bowl. Trust me. They would have much preferred it be the Saints. So, again, you kind of answered your own question there. JP, my man JP, thank you for doubling up. Double up. Greatly appreciate you, JP. John writes, can't wait to see your cuss-filled rant on the Super Bowl overtime if Brady wins it all in a Bucs uniform. Hashtag get the popcorn ready. I so don't want to see that happen. I would love it if they would just take me out back. If that's going to happen, just take me out back right now. Put two in my dome and lay me down easy, man. Put me out of my misery right now. I'm not going to go crazy if they win. I don't hate the Bucs. I don't hate Brady. I just don't want to see him win in the NFC in his first year. If he wins next year, more power to him. I got nothing for him. I can't allow this man to come waltz over to the NFC like he's hot stuff and take over the conference and we just be okay with it. Where's your backbone, NFC? Huh? Where's your backbone? Rodgers has to save us from this very catastrophic outcome that could potentially happen. He can't come over here and just get to the Super Bowl in his first year. That's bullshit. This was supposed to be the stronger conference. This one was supposed to be loaded with all these heavy hitters. And we're just going to allow him to waltz into the conference and march his way to the damn championship game and into the Super Bowl? Let's hope for all of our sakes, other than Bucs fans who definitely want to see that, let's just hope for all of our sakes that doesn't transpire. Got another super chat. And this one is from Edic Dulac. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Edic Dulac, who writes, in the Browns game, I think if Higgins went out of bounds at the 3 or the 2, I think the Browns could have punched it in, making it 16-10. With no time for a field goal for half, and it's 16. Then 24-19 Browns or 26-24 Chiefs. Remember, I said that had he scored, and to your point, you said he goes out of bounds at the 3 or the 2, and the clock would have stopped. You're assuming that they're going to take 2 plays to punch it in and eat up clock, and the Chiefs are going to either use their timeouts or not use their timeouts. More likely than not, with Andy Reid on the other sideline, if they ran it on first down, let's say they got down to the 1, he's going to use his timeout. Then the next play, they probably punch it in more likely than not. And he'll still have a 1:13, 1 timeout. They still are going to go down there and get their field goal. They weren't going to stop them in that situation. They got down there too quick. There's never a bad time to score. I take that back. The only time you don't want to score is when taking a knee will win you the game. And similar to the situation the Falcons were in against the Lions, where they didn't want Gurley to score because if they did score, it was going to put them in a position where Matthew Stafford could take them down the field and ultimately win the game. Whereas if he would have fell down at the 1, they kick a walk-off field goal, they win that game. I think it would have been 12 to. I think it would have ended up being 12 to 10 or something like that. 15 to 14, whatever the hell the score was. I don't remember what the hell it ultimately ended up being. I just know they were up by 6 with the touchdown, and the Stafford went down and scored a touchdown and beat them. And that's the only time you don't want to score. Outside of that, there's never a wrong time to score, but they would have scored too quickly. And I said that earlier. The Chiefs are still going to score before half, whether that ball is fumbled or not. Because they got down there so quickly, Andy Reid having 2 timeouts still left, he was going to use those timeouts to get the ball back with plenty of time, and Mahomes at quarterback, you knew they were going to get in the field goal range at a minimum. They were still trying to go for the end zone. But luckily enough, they didn't go for the end zone. They just got the field goal attempt. But that's nor here nor there. If Higgins had gone out of bounds at the 3, and let's say they would have run it twice, Andy Reid would have used his timeouts. They would have gotten the football. But now the difference is they wouldn't have had those timeouts at their disposal. But even if it was just 1 timeout, they still would have gotten the field goal range. If it was no timeouts and 1 minute and 9 seconds left, they were still going to get in the field goal range regardless. So they were going to score. There was, to me, no way that this game was going to end with the Chiefs scoring less than 20 points. Even with Henne in there, they got the field goal range, and then he decided to throw a stupid-ass interception. They were going to score. Let's just say Mahomes goes down at halftime, right before half. And it was 19, remember. 19-10 at the half. They were going to score at least another field goal. They were going to score some more points. The Chiefs were going to win that game. It's crazy that that's interesting. How many did the Bills have? Bills had 6,772 fans. Them and the Packers game sounded so loud. Those 2 games sounded like ridiculously loud. Sounded like the Bills game sounded like they had about a good 40,000 strong in there, man. It was ridiculous. I saw the hand of a Bills fan after the wild card win. The dude's hand looked like it was swollen, and it was red from him beating the hell out of the seat in front of him. Like, these fans, man, they go hard. Super duper hard. Got another super chat here from Key himself, who writes, thank you for tripling up first and foremost, Key himself. Greatly appreciate you. Key himself writes, the refs rigged the game. Cornerback got there very early. Yeah, but how does it benefit them to rig the game? You saying they got paid? Most of these dudes are making good money. A lot of them have jobs outside of the NFL because, remember, the NFL is not a year-round job. Like, a lot of these dudes, some of them, they do other sports. I know at one point, I think it was Gene Steratore that used to do basketball too. He would do college basketball and the NFL. But Ed Hockley was an attorney, NFL referee, by day and attorney by night. Like, these guys have other jobs. I don't see them needing the bread is what I'm telling you. NFL officials make good money, and they also probably making some money off, doing another job. Like, this is their part-time gig, if you will. So, if that's how you want to approach it, the officials rigged it, knock yourself out. They really got nothing to benefit from, doing that. I don't see it that way, at least, but, you never know. Metaphor, thank you for tripling up. Greatly appreciate you, Metaphor, who writes, that game wasn't rigged, but the fallout next year, PI reviewable. They purposefully chose not to overturn obvious PIs to get rid of it. Blind eye. Now, that I do concur with. The fact that they was like, this, first of all, I hated the fact that the NFL had the knee-jerk reaction to the obvious missed call in the NFC Championship game, thus exposing us to that wretched PI over challengeable call. And they, like you said, it was so ironic because the team that really pushed that narrative was the Saints, obviously, because they were the ones that felt like they were wronged. And wasn't it like poetic justice? It was the football gods is what it ultimately boiled down to. Wasn't it irony and poetic justice that it was the Saints in the final nail in the coffin for the PI rule, blatant push off, in overtime of that game from Kyle Rudolph. Like the exact reason they instituted this rule that we can look at pass interference for exact plays like that where he clearly pushes off the defender in overtime to catch the football in the end zone for the win. And they're like, nope, it's good. Vikings win. Let's all go home. So you're right. There were obvious misses last year and it's a subjective call. That's why I said from the jump, this is a dumb idea because there's too much gray area. This isn't like offsides where it's black and white, where you can see, okay, yeah, we can check, or a fumble where you can clearly see either the guy's down or he's not, and it's a fumble. Is there a clear recovery? This is pass interference. Every play we could argue is pass interference. I'm watching a deep ball yesterday with Josh Allen throwing to Stephon Diggs, and Marcus Peters is grabbing him in his nameplate back in the back of his shirt so that he doesn't smoke him, and they don't throw any flag. But then you could easily say that that's pass interference. Ball's in the air, and he's got him by the back of his collar. It's pass interference, but they're not going to call that. So it's too much gray area. That's stupid. Metaphor, thank you for another super chat, your fourth of the night. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, Chiefs just signed Dwayne at the club to start next week. Yeah, right. If they want to lose the AFC Championship game, they do that. They better off going with Chad Henne. Hell, even when Henne showed better wheels than Dwayne's ass. Anyway, I digress. Wow. 4 Saints turnovers turn into 21 Buccaneer points as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers avenged 2 earlier losses in the season to the New Orleans Saints with a 30-20 victory over the New Orleans Saints in what looks like the end of an era in New Orleans as Drew Brees is set to retire reportedly after this game and this loss. Big game from the Buccaneers defensively, and Devin White, my goodness, he was everywhere. He's a stud. My God, was he outstanding tonight. And he's been outstanding all season long, and you see the impact that he has and what a difference he makes in that Buccaneers defense. Should be outstanding ball next week. 2 games, 1 in each conference, to determine what matchup we'll get in the Super Bowl. You've got Packers and Bucs, Brady versus Rodgers. 5 years too late, but I'm not turning it down. In the NFC and the AFC, what we thought we were getting was Mahomes and Allen. It's Allen and question mark at this point. I surmise it's going to be Mahomes, but, concussion protocol is not a joke. So we will see. At the end of the day, I think the NFL got it right. The 4 best teams left in the tournament playing on Championship Sunday. Wouldn't have it any other way. Bart Scott can't wait. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me tonight on the show. Look forward to chopping it up with you next week. Podcast early. Might be Monday. It's not going to be Monday. I'm going to let my man Dr. Martin Luther the King have his day. And so we'll probably jump on Tuesday with the pod. And then I'll be working on the draft stuff. I'll have a Washington show throughout the week. I might have multiple Washington shows this week. And then we will have our Friday podcast. And that will get us ready for the Sunday action. So looking forward to chopping it up with you guys throughout the course of the week. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, as will I. Look forward to chopping it up with you later on in the week. Enjoy your 3-day holiday. Enjoy MLK Day. And I look forward to seeing you guys later on in the week. Stay safe. Whatever you do, protect yourself. COVID-19 is no joke. I've already given you guys stories of close calls. But my situation, stay safe out there. All right. Take care of yourself. And look forward to getting up with you guys soon. If you haven't already done so, again, one final time, sub up the channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and hit that like button. All right, really appreciate every single one of you out there. With that said, Bucs advance to the NFC Championship game where they'll take on the Green Bay Packers. Earlier in the day, the Kansas City Chiefs hung on for dear life over the Browns and advance to the AFC Championship where they await the Buffalo Bills. Final four is set. Should be juicy. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Until next time, I'm your man, Louie T. This has been Divisional Round Weekend Overtime. Have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.